This is Workaday Hollywood. I'm David Adams Hood.
And I'm Kevin R. Livingston, and today's guest is Brian Reeves, a filmmaker who's working his way through Hollywood, and we're glad to have you.
Yes, we are. So, Brian, let's start.
Yeah, I work at the American Film Institute, currently work as the coordinator for production finance and distribution. My work is mostly within the American Film Institute Conservatory, which is a master's level film school, and a number of really cool alumni such as David Lynch, Paul Schrader, Ari Aster's more recent one, Todd Field, directed the excellent film Tar. So it's a really cool place to be. When I moved to LA a couple years ago, I thought I was going to be a student at AFI and just take a business job. I have an economics degree. I was going to find a business job, to put food on the table in the meantime. And this position to help with the budgets at AFI opened up, and I was just lucky to find the perfect fit.
Kevin doesn't know this, but I actually went to grade school with David Lynch.
Really?
It's elementary school.
That's wild.
Not in Davis.
Yeah, I was about to say in Davis, California. So now, when you were growing up, when did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker?
So my mother said when I was a small child, I said I wanted to be a film editor, but I don't remember that at all. That wasn't something I wanted to do until I was in high school. I knew I wanted to go into real estate when I was, weirdly enough, my parents flipped a couple houses when I was in middle school, and I just really enjoyed, being on the property and getting my hands dirty and just, what that was all about. And I had the mathematic business interest, so I was looking into that, but I saw the film The Master by Paul Thomas Anderson. I was a sophomore in high school, and it just completely blew my mind. Up until that point, movies were Fast and the Furious. They were, these big mainstream Iron Man kind of things, and I never knew that it was possible to use filmmaking to tell a story like Joaquin Phoenix gives a performance that I've seen it a dozen times at least, and I still can't wrap my head around it. And just a film is a question rather than an answer. That was something that I thought was cool, and I knew I wanted to pose questions like that the rest of my life.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So you knew at a young age what you wanted to do.
Well, I knew what I wanted to do, but that didn't necessarily mean that the path was there for it. I was accepted to a number of different film schools out of high school. I could have went UNC. Really wanted to, but I didn't necessarily have the resources to do that. And my family, my mother and my father didn't graduate college. My mother did much later in life when she was in her late 50s, but they wanted me to go towards, the economics degree, something a little bit more secure in all markets kind of a thing. So I was lucky to get the economics degree from Kent State and worked in banking for a while. And it just was not the right fit for me. I realized that during the COVID lockdown. I was working from home, auditing Fortune 500 banks for money laundering, and it was if it sounds any kind of exciting, I promise you it was not.
It does not. So tell us about the film you made. You got a film into some awards. And
Yeah, so I realized about that time that just was not a road I wanted to keep going down, and I put about half of my salary up to make this short film. It's called 70 times 7. It was an adaptation of my mentor, Peter Anthony Fields. He did a one-act play called Burden. It's about a Presbyterian minister and her atheist son, and they're having a debate about whether or not they should kill the school shooter tied up at the kitchen table. And it's a very slice of life, 10 minutes, you are there in real time from her perspective. Jean Zarzor had been a member of SAG since 1985, commercials, supporting parts, a bunch of different films. She had, this was her first lead role after 30 plus years in SAG, and she delivered. It was terrific. And we were lucky to get it into a couple of festivals, won some awards in India and Italy. I got second place. I think it was the Indie Gathering Film Festival here in the U.S. So I was really excited for something I made to find an audience. That was about the time I decided I wanted to come to L.A. and make a run at attending AFI, and came full circle, I guess.
It's kind of amazing to see your words just unfold into action and film, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really terrific, just to see, you know, this was the first time that something that I had planned out had reached not just the filming, but the editing. Everything was finished and was able to be shared with the public. When I was in college, I had attempted to mount a feature film during the 10-day spring break for my senior year. And I'd cashed in all of my bonds that my grandparents had given me growing up. I worked at Sherwin-Williams 25 hours a week on top of my senior year studies, just trying to save up and make this happen. And the night before the shoot, the lead actress dropped out to go on spring break. And Kent State, they take all of their acting students to Broadway for a spring showcase. Well, by the time that the lead actress dropped out, we were unable to recast, and we had to completely start at square one. And I ended up renting cars on the Vegas Strip and Enterprise after that. I had some film opportunities go away, but I was lucky with 70 times 7, I found a road back to it, and have tried to stay on that path ever since.
That's great.
Now, reading up to 70-77, tell them about the jobs you had trying to get there.
So, well, after the Enterprise, I was back with my family in Pennsylvania for a little bit, and I had transferred to an Enterprise in Pittsburgh, and it was not for me, and I had quit. And my stepmother told me, okay, you want to work in film? That's great. You have 1 week to make this happen, or else I don't care if you're flipping burgers, like you're going back, you're doing something. Monday, I was looking for jobs, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, I was starting to lose hope, was hitting the wall. And I remembered that my college roommate, his girlfriend worked in costumes in Pittsburgh. And I reached out to her, and she was able to put me in touch with someone on Thursday. And Friday morning, I was in downtown Pittsburgh. I got hired as a production assistant on a Seth Rogen film, An American Pickle.
Oh, nice.
So I was working in the art department on that one under production designer Brandon Tonner Connolly. He's terrific. He recently did the A24 film I saw, The TV Glow. And it's just really, really cool work that he does between that and The Bad Batch. I don't know if you've seen that film, but really, really fantastic set design. And I only worked under him for a few weeks, but it was really cool to get that perspective and see a big studio Sony production office, what that was like firsthand. The 25 an hour and then 2.5 hour commutes each way wasn't necessarily what I had bargained for, but it was all part of the experience, and it's a really cool memory now. After that, I worked on an indie film called Dear Zoe that starred Sadie Sink, and that was a really big shift in perspective because it was a much smaller. The production office was like Mrs. Hubbard's cupboard. It was very, very small. The art department, I was also in the art department on that film. They were working out at the living room of the Airbnb that they had reserved for the art designer and the production designer and the art director. So that was a cool, completely different experience. That was a lot of driving on that one. I was driving about 300 or 400 miles a day, sourcing props and set deck materials.
Right.
After that, there was a Jason Momoa film for Netflix called Sweet Girl. I was there for just 1 day as a PA, and he was throwing a guy out the window of a hotel that day. So they were just rigging the OSHA vests and stuff like that. They had called me. I was watching football on Sunday night. They called me at about 6 p.m. and they were like, hey, do you think you can be in downtown Pittsburgh at 4:30 tomorrow morning for this shoot? So I went to bed right away. I got up at 3 a.m, drove down there, and I was working on that set. And at about 7 o'clock, they were like, hey, so this other guy who's normally PAs for us, he showed up, so we're overstaffed. So you're good. You can go home now. So I was only there for like 3 hours. But again, it was just another really cool experience just to be on set and to see an environment like that.
Tell me what it's like to source sets.
Yeah, so that was there was a props buyer who would go on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, offer up, and would, negotiate, try to find the best. Rather than buying something from Amazon or Walmart, she could see what was available locally, if it was for free or a discounted rate or something that was already worn and had some authenticity to it. So that would require me to drive around the greater Pittsburgh area to all these different suburbs and see, okay, this person has a sign over here. This person has a lamp across town 35 miles. It's different than LA where it takes like an hour and a half to go 35 miles. Like you can go 35 miles in 35 minutes in Pittsburgh. They had me going all around, and it was a really cool time. That unlike the Seth Rogen film, this one I was actually able to be on set and see the set dressers and everyone and how they rearranged everything to to see it in its place and how it goes from just being these abstract things I'm picking up and throwing in the trunk of my car into becoming a lived-in environment. That was just another really, really great learning experience.
So now, having participated in these things, how has that helped you as a writer-director? I mean, knowing what everybody's job is while you're writing and directing, has that helped you?
For sure. I'm kind of lucky that feature that I wanted to make when I was a senior didn't necessarily happen, because if it did happen, I don't think it would have ever lived up to my expectations that I had at that time. And then to be on all these sets and have those experiences, I was able to bring that to the 70 times 7. I was able to source all my own props for it, did the own set dressing and everything. If you watch the short, you can see that there's all sorts of Christian memorabilia in the back, but not just like, I just went and picked what was on what I could find at a store. Like there's one with a motorcycle that was like Jesus died so we could ride. So that was like I was trying to think of like if this woman and her husband, like what would they actually have in their home, like a psalm in this corner or something. So there's no close-ups on any of that stuff in the short, but just with it being in the background of the shots, hopefully it adds some feeling like the audience, like you are there,
I think the word is texture.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully definitely took some texture from these experiences.
Yeah. So now you grew up in small town Ohio.
Well, I grew up just outside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay, Pennsylvania. All right.
Then I went to Kent State for 4 years. And then after that, I was in Vegas for a year. That was when I was working for the Enterprise, trying to, reeling from the perpendicular, so to speak. And I came back Pittsburgh for a couple months. I worked on those film sets, and I moved to Cleveland. My college roommate from Kent, he was like, hey, my friend got transferred to Cincinnati. Do you want to come live with me out here? So I went out there, and I had found that job in banking because in the winter, nobody wants to film in Cleveland.
Right.
And I was like, all right, this will be something seasonal, come summer, spring, or whatever. I'll try to join IATSE in Cleveland or whatever.
Mm.
Then that was January of 2020. And about 6 weeks after I started at that job was whenever the COVID lockdown started. So that ended up being, and I was thankful that I was able to, keep that job the whole way through and have some consistency. It was consistently something that didn't align with, what I wanted to get up and do every day. So that was a good motivator to get out and make 70 times 7 and try to get back on track to, something more aligned.
Now, I have a question for you. Growing up in Pittsburgh, right? It's a sports town.
It is.
You're a kid. Now, did you not want to play football, baseball, or any of that? Because I'm sure your friends all wanted to, right?
Absolutely. I played a little bit of soccer and some rec basketball growing up.
Okay.
But arts were definitely a thing for me. I used to play cocktail jazz piano in high school. I started playing piano when I was 3. That was a big thing for me. I haven't been able to play since I moved to LA, and I just bought an electric piano for myself in July. So I'm so happy to have that back in my life again.
So it's collecting dust. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got that, and then, but no, Pittsburgh is a huge sports town, and more so as a fan than as a athlete myself. It was cool to see the Steelers win a number of championships, the Penguins, sometimes in the same year, and it was the same. It was like on ice or grass, we'll kick your ass. They had these T-shirts and stuff. So because then and then living in Cleveland, it's also a really big sports town, but Pittsburgh has a history of winning and Cleveland not as much. So it's just Pittsburgh, they expect to win the championship every single year. If they get to the AFC championship and lose, they'll be miserable till September.
Right.
Cleveland, they can be up by 20 points in the fourth quarter, and all the Cleveland fans will be looking at each other like, all right, how are they going to blow it this time? Like, until the game is done, they think they're going to lose, and it's so wild. These towns are only like 100, 150 miles apart from each other, and just it feels so differently to be in each place. It's really cool.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Just think there's a number of different towns. I mean, places that I haven't even been yet in America that it's like, I wish there was an infrastructure for filming. And it looks like with tax credits in some of these places, to be able to explore these different environments rather than just everything being New York, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, every movie we see.
I think that's happening. I have a friend who does line producing in Colorado, and he has all those kind of the tax credits. Each state obviously has its own either generous or not generous tax structure. But there's so many amazing places around the country. But even California, if you go, top to bottom, it's 900 miles or something. There's lots. Not just in LA.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I sold my car to pay for my move out to Los Angeles, and I haven't purchased a new one since then because I have a really nice sizable 1-bedroom apartment, but it doesn't come with a parking spot. So it's like, it just doesn't make sense. I've been used doing the Uber and Lyft thing. But what's cool with that is, well, what's not cool, the only downside of that is the lack of freedom. So I haven't been able to see like San Francisco or San Diego or anywhere really outside of LA yet, but hopefully here this fall or over the winter get a chance to explore the state a bit more.
Well, there is a fairly cheap plane flight, and they do have Uber and Lyft up in San Francisco. So,
yeah, no, I've heard really great things, and it's a town I've always wanted to see for sure.
Now, for AFI, right? Working for AFI, tell me about their relationship to Hollywood, AFI, with the films they do and things like that.
So AFI has a really cool relationship. Well, first off, they have the AFI Awards, which is separate from the conservatory. And that's where they have the top 10 films and TV series of the year. And they have a really cool celebration with all the top talent in town. They do that. And then the Lifetime Achievement Award. Nicole Kidman was recently honored, and they aired that on TNT. What I do is focus more on working with the students, the fellows, as they, in their first year, they do 3 cycle films, which are classroom exercises. Those films are not cleared for distribution. They're just, it's a chance for them to learn and to try out some stuff and really hone their craft. But their senior year, their thesis film is what we put up on watchafi.com. I created the profiles for a number of the films from 2009 to present. But these films, a number of them have won like the Student Academy Award, the BAFTA, British Academy, and a number of different prizes. There's some really cool films within there. All of those directors, that Ari Aster, he's directed one. That's their cumulative capstone project. So every interesting AFI alum you can find has one, and most of them over the last decade and a half are up on the watchafi.com for public consumption. So definitely check them out. They're really
nice. And these are people who are contributing to Hollywood.
Absolutely. As as these master's level students graduate, they move on into various roles. I think it was of the 10 Best Picture nominees last year, 6 of them had at least one person who had graduated from AFI on the crew. It's cool to have, connections within various productions like that. I believe, and the number might not be accurate here, but I want to say since 1980, was something like 150 or 160 of their graduates have been nominated for Academy Awards. So
amazing. And wait a minute now. Hold on, Brian. That's Academy Awards in Hollywood.
That's like the Academy Awards. It's across, there's 6 different disciplines at AFI, that's one of the huge benefits of going there, is that they have the different concentrations. There's directing, screenwriting, producing, editing, cinematography, and production design. And if you can, you're learning from some of the best filmmakers who are, have so much knowledge to pass on to the next generation. You're working with some of the, cutting edge equipment, access to really cool shooting locations and mentors. And, after they leave, that enables them to find positions in these productions and, just keep performing at a high level and keep living up to AFI's reputation.
So I would think AFI is important to Hollywood.
Absolutely. Yes. When
Okay.
when I was at Kent State studying econ and finance, I just didn't want to do that. I got the degree and it was a great program. That's nothing against the Kent State. It was just me personally. I knew what I wanted to do, and I just felt like I was being trapped in a cage that wasn't meant for me. And AFI was this like shining city on the hill, so to speak. Like I knew at that point, it was like, why would they want an economics graduate at a master's level film school? It felt like I didn't know if there was a path there. But thankfully, both through the filmmaking and then finding the employment there, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, had a path back for me. And it was Monday's the first day of school, and this will be the start of my third academic year there. So it's it's really cool to experience. There's still mornings that I wake up and I can't believe it's just like, you're going to the American Film Institute today. Like, don't take that for granted.
So you're not just working there, you're taking classes.
Well, no, I am just working there, but I have access to the library, which is like 13,000 films and all these books and stuff. And my colleagues have been incredibly generous with their time, talent, and mentorship. And so it's definitely, still there for just work. I'm not enrolled, but I've been able to cultivate an education unofficially, I guess, as well.
You are getting ready to do another film.
That's the plan, yeah. So I'm finishing up my new screenplay, Bighorn. I started outlining this when I lived in Vegas in 2019, and I put it away for a couple years. And last summer, I was really kind of hitting the wall. I hadn't written anything in a while. It had been 2 years since we shot 70x7, and it's like, okay, you got to this point, and you're here in LA, and it's like, now what are you gonna do? What's next? And I was going through all these different projects that I had outlined. I had about 7 or 8 to choose from. And, I would work on one for a week and I would develop it, and then the next week I would start with the next one and develop it and just see like something clicked, and none of them were really clicking. So I'm a Filmmaker Pro member of the Film Independent organization. They do like the Indie Spirits, and they have a lot of really cool screenings throughout the year. But with that, you can have access to their conference room in their headquarters for 2 days of the year. I reserved a table for a table read, and I invited every actor that I had known and networked with in Los Angeles. And after we had it booked, reserved, and everybody had agreed to come, I was like, okay, now I need to figure out what I'm going to write. And I went back through and I found Bighorn, and looking at the different scenes and stuff, I was like, this actor would be really suited great for this role. This would be a wonderful fit for another role. And it just unfolded organically, and we had the table read in December, and we were going to expand it into a TV series from there. So I was trying with that for a while, but the story is like at that spot where I feel like if I pushed it more than 5 episodes, it would be like I'd have to pad it. But like anything less than that is like, it's not really TV anymore. So I managed to find a tight version. And I'm just wrapping up the screenplay now, and we're hoping to shoot in early 2025. Cool. We've talked to financiers, and there's a little bit of interest. But if there's anyone listening that's has some money and wants to make some more, I have a script.
This will go out.
So good luck with that.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it. I've blended it to the point now where when people ask, like, well, what is this like? Oh, it's normally X meets Y or whatever. Like, I can't really come up with that anymore. It's like, it is Bighorn. I wanted to write something that hopefully someday is like, when somebody's pitching their next project, it's like, oh, it's Bighorn meets XYZ.
I think that's a log line.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the industry terminology, I think that's a log line. We're this is Workaday Hollywood, so we want to tell people that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think we're getting to the end here.
Absolutely.
I had a question that I like to ask is just to give us a weird, dumb celebrity story. Not dumb or weird celebrities, just the story, you know.
Yeah. So there's the time I didn't recognize Seth Rogen in the elevator. So I had seen just about every Seth Rogen movie made up to that point, excuse me. And this was the first day of filming for the American Pickle. And we had tons of extras on set, and they had all these wardrobe racks, and it was dozens, maybe even hundreds of people lined up and receiving their wardrobe. And anybody who was a top tier talent had a security person with them with the earpiece and everything. And I'm running errands, and I get in the elevator, and there's just a guy in the elevator, and it's just him. And he's wearing a tank top with like a mustard stain and got this big beard covering his nose and all the way down to his chest is for his character. But it was hiding his face, but the eyes looked familiar, like something about it. So we get in the elevator and then go to make small talk. I was like, oh, they did a great job casting the extras for this thing, huh? And he goes, yeah, sure, dude. And as soon as he opened his mouth, I was like, oh my God, look at Seth Rogen driving around Pittsburgh feeling like a moron the rest of the day after that.
No, I have a feeling Seth Rogen blends in most places.
For sure, absolutely. And I will say he was a lot taller and a lot thinner in person, and I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Now, my question is 20 years from now, will people be in a dark room with an 80-foot screen watching film, or will they be home in their living room with an 80-inch television and surround sound streaming a movie?
I mean, I think there's a way to do both. I don't mean to have a cop-out answer there. I think that it is on us as filmmakers to give the audience a reason to want to go into that dark room and see something projected on that screen. And I think that there's enough talented filmmakers. I see them every day at AFI that if the industry wanted to invest in original projects and fresh, diverse, creative new voices, then they're absolutely out there, and the audience is waiting to hear these stories. They just need to be presented. So hopefully that's on a big screen. I definitely think that I like television as well. I think there are stories. I like the long form narrative. You know, there are stories that are better suited to being told at home, but like films are films, and I really hope that coming generations can appreciate, and will have films to appreciate.
Nice.
Brian, I've heard Kevin ask this question a dozen times now, and I think that was the best answer I've heard so far.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Now, Brian, do you have any socials you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram is Brian Reeves 28. It's Brian with a Y. I think I'm not on X, Twitter anymore, so I think it's just the Instagram now. 70x7 is available on YouTube and Vimeo. There's a couple shorts by that name, so just be sure to search my name next to it. Yeah, thank you for having me on. This has been a pleasure, and thank you.
Well, thanks for doing it. It was fun.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
You were interesting.
Thank you. This has been awesome.
All right.
It's great talking with you guys.
You too.
Have a great one.
So the name of
Okay, yeah, he was interesting. Kevin, Brian was a very interesting interview. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Well,
And,
that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about AFI in Hollywood.
Yes, and my question stands. What does that mean? AFI in Hollywood. What does that mean to you?
The name of the show is Workaday Hollywood. How many contributors from AFI work in Hollywood? Now,
I don't know. Do you?
30 people. 30 people. Writers, directors, everybody. He said, yeah, there's 180 people been on sets of movies in Hollywood. And the name of the show is Workaday Hollywood. And I don't understand how you thought AFI wasn't Hollywood.
Well, no, I did think AFI is in Hollywood. I know AFI is in Hollywood. AFI contributes to Hollywood, but the statement AFI is Hollywood is the part where I'm confused. How do you think it is Hollywood?
Because everybody that graduates works in Hollywood.
Not everybody, but it is a school. And my sense was that you didn't know it was a school.
I did know it was a school, as well as they have the award ceremony, like he mentioned. I
Right.
know.
And that's what you told
I've
me.
been up there. I know it's a school. Okay. No more.
Have you ever auditioned there for a project?
A short film? No, I haven't.
I have.
I have.
So
So what? That makes you better because you have?
no, I understood that it's a school in Hollywood, but I wouldn't go so far as to say it is Hollywood.
I'm not talking about location. I'm talking about the graduates of AFI work in Hollywood. The majority of them.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a show about Workaday Hollywood. So I got my training at AFI to work in Hollywood.
Right.
We're not talking about Naples, Florida. We're talking about Hollywood.
I know. And Groundlings also trains people to work in Hollywood.
Okay, but wouldn't you say you can interview somebody from Groundlings and that's Hollywood? It's about Hollywood? Couldn't you do that or no? No.
Okay.
I'm confused. I'm confused now.
Okay. I will concede this to you that AFI and Groundlings contribute to Hollywood.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's under the umbrella of Workaday Hollywood. That's the issue here.
Yeah, I wasn't questioning that. I just wasn't sure how you were seeing the Workaday Hollywood and the AFI and how AFI was Hollywood. I will concede this to you. You were right.
Well,
and he was a fantastic interview.
A bus driver takes you to Warner Brothers studio. Would that be Workaday Hollywood?
Yeah.
I see.
I'm conceding this to you, Kevin. And I noticed you trolling me in the middle. And that was
well, you didn't understand Hollywood are tour guides who take people around, right, on these tours, the open van and all that, when all you see is a gate, maybe a house, a piece of a house, but you don't see gates and hedges. Are those people Workaday Hollywood? Or is the guy who's driving the van a wannabe actor, but he's doing this to make ends meet? Just a question.
Yes.
All right, guys, I'm going to jump in here and settle the argument. You're both right.
I know.
How about that? It is located in Los Angeles, which is the home of Hollywood, and plays a significant role in the broader Hollywood community, supporting both established and emerging filmmakers. So let's concede you're both right.
I agree. I was trying to say that a minute ago.
Hi, man.
So I did want to bring up one other thing that he talked about. That was David Lynch.
Okay.
So I
guess you went to school with David Lynch.
Well, I went to elementary school with him, so that doesn't completely count. But he was in my in Wade Thomas Elementary School. He was in Wade Thomas Elementary School in San Anselmo, where I went to school.
He's your age.
I think he might be a little bit older. I might have been younger than him, but we were in the same school.
Same school, not same grade.
I don't think we were in the same grade. I think he is a little bit.
That David Lynch, or it's another David Lynch?
What?
I said, are you sure it's that David Lynch, or could it have been another David?
Absolutely. I'm friends with one of my favorite teachers from elementary school on Facebook, and he's talked about David Lynch quite a bit, and how inspiring that was for him to have taught him.
I see. Why don't we get the teacher on? Then that wouldn't be Workaday Hollywood, would it?
Yeah, that's stretching it a little bit. I mean, he was a musician. He was a folk musician back in the day, but
yeah, let's put him on. Country Western guy, you'd be happy.
Country Western is not the same as folk music.
All right,
these are two different genres. All right, well, that was fantastic, and Brian was amazing, and thank you for finding him, and I give you all the kudos in the world, Kevin.
Yeah, okay. In this case, I'll see you next week.
Okay. So, well, this has been Workaday Hollywood, and I'm David Adams Hood.
And my name is Kevin R. Livingston. Take care.
See you next week.